me, Rubenstein.
I am a host, Rich Gaccioni.
Um, Today we have a special guest get here. Suppose when he gets here. Rich is wearing a shirt that he bought in ninth grade.
It's true. I am. I'm
How does that
wearing.
feel?
That's great. It's actually a little baggy on me and stuff too, so that's nice. It's comfortable.
Because you bought stuff that was too big in ninth grade, or because you are back to your ninth grade weight?
I've I think I was just big in ninth grade, so I just like bought big clothes because I was big. So, but it's like the same thing, I think, right? So like I'm back to how I was in ninth grade, or maybe I just didn't change at all. But maybe it's a little baggy, so that's good.
Had it not fit between then and now, or you
At,
don't know?
at one point, it probably wouldn't have fit. It would have been a little too snug. So
Huh.
that's good.
Did your mom just like clean out your old room or something?
It was the basement. There's a lot of things in the basement at my mom's house in New York that are like boxes of things that I never took. So she's like constantly like, I have a box of stuff for you. I have a box of stuff for you. And this was amongst them. She said, oh, I found a 9 Inch Nails shirt. And I was like, what? Because I remember this shirt. I had a very vivid memory of it, but didn't know where it went. Like I thought it was lost forever. And I was like, are you kidding me? And she's like, I'll send it up with your sister, because my sister came to visit a couple weeks ago. And I took it out and I was like, this is like second concert I ever went to was this shirt. This is like a legit 1995 Nine Inch Nails shirt from when they played Nassau Coliseum.
Huh.
Yeah, January of 1995 or whatever it was.
And your sister that came up was the same sister that's getting married?
Yeah, that's right. Kimberly, she's getting married Saturday.
So I guess we'll tell the four listeners, we're not going to be live next week. It's going to be
That's right.
it's going to be
A
an
redo.
episode we previously recorded.
Yeah.
So I guess the only people really affected are if you listen to the podcast on Anchor or Spotify, there will be no new episode next week. You already heard this episode 2 weeks ago because we didn't air
Right. We're
2 weeks.
catching up with ourselves. Yeah, yeah. We aired the audio, but not the video.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to see what that looked like? You can check it out next Monday.
If you want to see what we looked like during that episode.
Yeah. It was probably a lot like this.
Yeah, you were in a hotel room and I was in my spare bedroom that I haven't furnished for 6 months now.
I was in a hotel room 2 weeks ago. Oh, for a while.
Yeah, you're almost done now. You were just talking about it and now you're almost done.
Yeah. I have 2 weeks left.
You still have 2 weeks left? Wow.
Well, I don't get home next Monday. I'm home the following Monday.
So yeah, that's two
So
weeks. Yeah.
um,
Good for you, man.
I have 5 shows this week, and then I have 5 shows next week, and then that's it.
And where are you currently? Where in the United States are you right now?
I am in Lebanon, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville.
Nice. And what is the outside world like in Lebanon, Tennessee, or wherever you were in the last
It's
24
just a
hours?
suburb of Nashville.
Yeah.
Um,
Are there people wearing masks, or are there people burning masks? How is it around there?
I haven't seen anyone burn a mask. Nashville like uh, feels like everyone is like, "Hey, wear a mask," and then everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah." Like no one walks up to the gas station with the mask on, and then they see the thing, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Ugh."
Like they even have it dangling on their ear, but oh,
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
yeah.
Whereas like some places they ignore it
Mm-hmm.
altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen that a lot. And I will say that most places I've been so far, if you forget to put the mask, like if you're not a they're not gonna tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you see the sign and just ignore it, they're just like, "Hey, sir, how's your day?" Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're getting to that point now. Yeah.
Um, I wonder. I don't know.
I
New
was
York. It feels like New York's taking forever to uh, get back on track, but the rest of the country's rocking and rolling.
Yeah, it seems that way. It seems that way, but we'll get there hopefully. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, everyone's getting vaccinated, and
yeah,
everyone's, like, it feels like, I don't watch the numbers, like, because I'm not, into that, but let's see. Let's
it
see.
was nice.
Oh,
It was nice like this weekend, and I'm sure you're experiencing the same thing doing the shows and stuff. But um, being able to go record with my band this weekend at our friend's studio, and like because of vaccines and because of people who we surround ourselves with are all safe enough to be able to go to someone's house and not wear our masks because we're all up to snuff with vaccines and all that sort of
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
so we could go. And it was the first time that it was like could like leave your mask off and hang out with a bunch of people. It was the first time I've been able to kind of do it in like for an extended period of time. So we stayed over one night. So we all like had food together and just hung out. And I was like, wow, this is a good feeling. So first sense of real normalcy in a long time. But then I went to
Yeah,
work on the next day, and it was like, the plexiglass up, masks everywhere, people like getting up without their mask and doing like this thing, like, oh yeah, I don't have my mask. I'm gonna do this thing while I walk by you. It's just so weird. Such a juxtaposition.
yeah. I mean, so Mikey, who was on last week,
Mm-hmm.
he's like still pretty cautious. Like, you don't want to, I mean, no one wants to catch it,
Of course.
but
Of
he's
course.
pretty cautious. And since I've been vaccinated and I'm like on the road, like I'm like, it's a hoax, like I'm just walking through life. So when I got to Vikings, I was like, yo man, I'm probably carrying.
Oh man.
stay stay back.
You're like
So
spitting in people's
we never
mouths.
got within like 6 feet of each other. And like the 2 or 3 times we were in the car together, we were both wearing masks in the car.
It's a great way to treat your good friends.
Mm.
Well, that's good. It sounds like you're having a good time. I keep up with you on your socials, and it looks like you're having a good time. It makes me happy. Just
Yeah,
don't give anyone COVID.
I got hit with like a little bit of loneliness last night because I feel like I had like a really like crazy run of like people coming to hang out like the first couple of days, like first couple of days, and like after a couple of days, a dude came in to open,
Mm-hmm.
like a dude I knew came in to open, and then some other people I knew came to out to shows, and then and then Abby came to do dates, St. Louis and Austin, and then
Mm-hmm.
in Austin I had friends and family, and then OKC was Mike, and then Little Rock was the first time that I was like, I don't know anybody.
Right. Right.
So that was like 5 or 6. That was like 5 days, and then the drive out here, and then like being here alone, and like having a day off, and then I went to a restaurant, Chattable,
Yeah.
it's Manish Chauhan's restaurant in Nashville, and me and Kathleen always like talk about checking out her restaurants, how they get look good. So like I went and checked out that restaurant, and it was just like, yeah, like sitting alone at the bar, like
Yeah. You
now
need that
it's starting to,
little bit of companionship to enjoy things. Yeah, it's
yeah,
unfortunate sometimes you go in with a good intention, like when you're rolling solo and you're like, I'm gonna go enjoy this thing, and it's just like you're saying, you're just kind of like, I wish I had someone to enjoy this with. It's kind of how I am with Las Vegas the last couple times I went. Like it's all like, I'm gonna go have such a good time and do this. I'm gonna do this for myself, and then I get there, I'm like, I wish someone was here to enjoy this with me. Yeah, I
yeah.
definitely get it. And it's about, I think we both function the same way. We both let it kind of like get us quickly. Like we like, oh, more lonely, and that's everything's ruined.
Well, I mean, it's weird because it wasn't like I'd still rather be on tour than do anything
Of
else.
course, of course.
It was just like, oh, I wish, like, uh, it'd be cool if I was like opening for friends or
Yeah,
friends opening for me.
yeah.
Then we could, what I'm saying.
We could be friends. Yeah,
Friends, how many of us have them? Friends.
I got hit with the loneliness recently too. I don't know what it is about recently. I was been really good about like not letting loneliness dictate in my mood so much, and I think it's the fluctuation of weather, and I'm really kind of seeing a correlation in like a lot of my mood stuff does start in late fall, winter time. I do not function very well emotionally when it's like snowy and cold and dead trees and no plants and all that stuff. I really like when it's sunny and green and flowers and all that shit. But I've been noticing like I've been going on this like it'll get nice for a day, and everybody up here is like feeling the same way. I think like it gets 70 degrees and sunny. Oh, it's beautiful. And then 3 days of cold rain, and then another sudden it's kind of like playing games. And I've been really like the loneliness kind of sets in. Oh, Adam's here. Yeah, let's get Adam in here. Here we go.
Friends.
Hello. Oh,
Hello.
sorry. Let me just there we go.
Hi.
Okay.
Hey, what's
Hi,
up?
fellers.
Hi, feller.
How are you?
I'm good. You know Rich, right? Yes.
I mean, we've
Yeah.
met. Yeah.
Hi.
How's you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for having me. I apologize about being late. I hate that.
Oh, thanks for doing it, man.
Cool. Let me make sure my volume's up. Does everything look okay?
Yeah, you look great. Sound great.
Yeah. Look like you have
Neil,
kids.
you look so studious.
Oh, because of the glasses.
Yeah.
Badass. Not badass. Badass. That, that easy. You were in Charlotte? Back in Charlotte?
Yeah. Yeah. In Charlotte. Um, yeah. We
Right.
were in Raleigh for a minute and now we're back in Charlotte. Everything's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't, yeah.
What?
No, I'm like, oh, how do we start in the middle? I don't know how to start.
Well, we were
Sorry.
just no, it's cool. We were just kind of like, go ahead, Neil.
No, it's just like I've become a bad interviewer. Like I feel like when I was doing in traffic, I knew how to talk to people, and now I'm just like, hey, what's up, man? All right, talk to you soon.
Well, I
Yeah.
think the vibe of this podcast is more of a conversation rather than an interview too, which is kind of nice, where you can just kind of like talk about stuff, because that's kind of the impetus of the podcast. Anyway, just kind of talking about us, talking about where we're at, and talking about things you don't normally talk about. So it's a unique format, to say the least. So we were just kind of talking about before you popped in, Adam. We're just kind of like fighting the loneliness off. Like basically,
Uh,
Neil's on tour, and the other day he felt, or yeah, yesterday, kind of started feeling lonely.
Yeah,
Um,
because
yeah.
I had been around people that I wanted to be around for like a while on this run, and then like all of a
Mm,
sudden it just like fell off. Like I left like my last friend's place to go do something for 5 days with like no one I knew, and now I'm continuing that run of like no one I know, and it's just like, huh. Like there's nowhere I'd
yeah.
rather be on than on tour, but like, you know, um, I could use a
It's
friend.
a
Yeah. Someone be
yeah.
like, oh,
There, well, like, it's like it's a interesting thing because there's being as I would imagine that there's nowhere else you'd rather be than on tour than like talking about feeling or like even like I don't know if you do this, but I know I do. Like even the conversations with myself, like I'll like stop and just think like like you have no place to complain about any of this because
right.
it's what you want to be doing.
mm,
So then it's like you're almost denying yourself of being able to feel your feelings,
That's very
you
true.
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because and Orbit, I know exactly what I can empathize with you because I've experienced that same thing.
Yeah, that's actually like at the very beginning of us doing this pod. I was kind of there where I was just like, what do I have to complain about? You know what I mean? But it's like,
Yeah,
well, then you're denying yourself that, like, that necessary outlet. Like,
Yeah.
all right, give me a second. I'll complain about it for 2 minutes, and then I'll put my head back down and like get to work or whatever. Like, just let
there's
me feel how I feel for a minute.
yeah, there it's like hard to, like, I don't know if it's, well, I feel like from there's this thing, like, you realize like how fortunate you are, so you don't want to seem like you're being some kind of uh
Yeah.
prima donna, or like some kind, or just prima donna is not the right word,
Like an
but
ingrate. Like, you don't want to be ungrateful.
yes, and there's, but that everybody's experience is different, and then just kind of being able to own, like hey, like, to own like both sides, like the full coin, like there's the one side of the coin, like I'm the luckiest guy I know, and then there's the other
Mm-hmm.
side of the coin, like, but this is how I feel sometimes, and then you got the whole thing,
And
it's just
how
hard.
how did you, or how do you, did you learn that behavior in order to give yourself the time to have both, like, enjoy and appreciate where you are, but also be able to take the negative feelings or things that you need to deal with, like loneliness, and like give yourself that time to address it? Because I know that can be a battle in one's head. You can be like, you don't like, oh, I have these negative feelings, but I don't want to address them because I shouldn't, like we're saying. But then doing that will be unhealthy, and you'll bottle up. You'll be in this war inside your head. Was that a something you had to work through, or is it something you realized and just were able to kind of like differentiate both sides of it?
I feel like it's something that I didn't realize for a long time. It's something that I'm still working on
Mm-hmm.
all the time. Like, there's um it it like took a long time, and it wasn't like, but except through like therapy, basically, of like even getting to a point to where to like recognize what's happening,
Yeah.
like to be feeling a certain way, and rather than just trying to like shut it out, or like um or to like push just these very honest um feelings that you're having or experiencing, rather than to push them back, like being able to recognize them and like to sit with them,
Yeah.
and to just know that you know that's like a part of the whole.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't think there's ever like a once you start working on yourself, and if you're in therapy and you're working forward, you don't there's never an end. You don't just like, I completed therapy, I'm good now. Like, it's always like
Yeah,
a,
woo.
yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah,
for
yeah,
me,
it's
I started therapy for a lot of the things that I didn't know I was dealing with until they all kind of like all came out at once. And I got therapy. I went to a program. I went to get help, and once I realized these things, like, oh, this is why I'm dealing with this. This is why I feel like this. And now it's like kind of like what we're talking about: negative thoughts, negative feelings, or just being able to address these things. Wasn't something that I was ever told I was allowed to do, or thought that if I did address things about myself, like I need to talk about this thing, it would be looked at kind of like, why do you doing? You can't do that. Now you're burdening me with your feelings. So I always kind of kept everything
oh yeah.
inside. You know what I mean? My
Mm.
therapist, thankfully, has been so awesome in letting me know that you're allowed to give those thoughts, whether they be positive, negative, whatever, their own time. And he gave me this tool to say, if there's something bothering me, but I'm in the middle of something good, like if I'm in the middle of band practice, if I'm hanging out with family, if I'm doing something positive that's filling me with happiness, and I let my thoughts get to me. And so for whatever reason, we all kind of do it. We just kind of get in our own head and start feeling like thinking about this one thing, like a bug in the back of your head. Don't let it give you time. Don't let it have its time then. You tell it. You have to have the strength and power and control and be like, all right, you know what? Thought, you're going to take the back seat right now. Let's get to you later, before bed, whatever. And enjoy the time you're in, because for so long I've always let things like that, my own thoughts and my own feelings and stuff, ruin good stuff. And that was a big problem in the last year and a half of what I've been going through, is I just let like negativity and self-loathing and all this stuff ruin the good stuff around me. And I realized that it's just up to me to get a little bit stronger and to control it a little bit and push it off. So I'm thankful that therapy has taught me like these little tools to like allow myself to feel how I feel, but not let it be like, but not second guess it and immediately not do it because I think I'm burdening somebody or I'm not allowed to do it. So I think this has been very important for my journey, so to speak.
Yeah.
I
Neil,
feel like,
how are you? Oh,
go
yeah.
ahead. Well, no, say again. What was the question?
What was the
Or like,
question?
no, I was just gonna ask you or like, um, coping, or like, how are you hanging in there, I guess would be the
Yeah,
casual way to ask.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, after like the leg stuff and all that stuff, like I don't know, I feel like this has definitely helped. Being able to like talk to somebody like once a week, especially someone who knows me so well. I feel like the unburdening yourself, like I feel like like there was like a natural thing for me. Like I look back and I was just such a nightmare to be around, and like now, like
How do you
I
mean?
really, I don't know, man, because like those negative thoughts would get in my head, and then I would just be like shitty and like in a bad mood and like snap,
Oh,
and now I don't think I do those things. I mean, I have a temper still, but I feel like it takes longer to get to that place. I don't know.
And that's progress. Yeah. I mean, you can still, you can
Uh,
still have those things, but if you recognize it, and if you kind of like can see yourself getting there, you have an opportunity to kind of be like, I'm getting a little carried away or whatever. And you can control it a little bit.
like I had a bad show Thursday. Like the crowd, it was like one party. So it was like 15 or 16 people, and they all knew each other, and that was the only people in the audience, and that makes for a very bad
Mm.
show generally. Because like if they're all talking to each other or they have inside jokes, you know what I mean? Like uh, it's often a struggle with that kind of a crowd. And I just had a bad set. I just had a bad time. And when I got off stage, like I just went back to the condo, and like I could have easily I recognized that was a spiraling point.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like 10 years ago, if that would have happened, I would have like quit comedy and like
Yeah.
fucking burnt the club down, and like just
Yeah.
been like I just would have overreacted so poorly. But like, I just went back to the condo. I just, had a soda, just went to bed early, and then woke up the next day, just like, all right, brush it off.
Mm.
Let's go get them. And then had two great sets Friday, and that was it. I forgot all about the.
That's great. That's a great recovery from a negative impacted moment for what you do and what you love doing. So I'm happy that you
Yeah.
were able to address it that way rather than burning places down, for sure.
Um, how, like, Adam, like your life totally changed. I mean, you were on the road 300 times, 300 days a year for
Yeah.
the past 20 years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're just like, oh, no, home today.
Yeah. I like switched from being in the entertainment industry to I just get snacks for people all day long, all the time,
So
and
now
like
you're the tour
homeschool.
manager.
Yeah, yeah, no, like 100%. Yeah, like making the schedule, homeschooling, and then like all that. So it's there's I've had times, and then like I've talked with the guys about this a little bit when we talk, but there's days to where I'm like, man, like you realize like so much of your identity is wrapped up in this thing that you do, that it just sometimes it was like the struggle of like, I don't know who I am. There's no music that I'm listening to that I'm liking. There's nothing like, I don't want to like, I pick up a guitar, it's like, why am I holding this? And then so there were a lot of days like that, and then it was just kind of this thing of like, I remember because we've also been like moving too. So I was packing up the house, and I was standing there, and 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 I remember stopping and just being like, how is this my life? Like, how did I get here? What's going on? And like I was just getting so, or like it's kind of like what you were saying about like letting that negativity like on that kind of it's like the levee breaks, and
Mm-hmm.
it all just comes like flooding in. So it's then, yeah, really gotta like check yourself in those moments, like I feel like I got like a lot of those times, like I just would find myself just kind of going outside and just kind of staring and to nothing, to hello, to try to like find wherever that center is, so you don't start, yeah, hello, yeah, yeah, just to find where that center is, so you don't or just kind of similar to what you were saying, so you don't kind of go down this other path, which then um, could lead to, either like you hurting yourself or you're hurting someone else, like as far as like with your words or
Did you feel
anything like that.
like in the moment that you mentioned standing there, kind of like wondering how you got to where you got? Did you feel or question whose fault it was when you were standing there and like having this like dialogue with yourself, like how did I get here, what, how is this my life? Did you
Oh, it's
sit?
always my fault.
Okay,
Always.
me too. That
There,
was my
there.
fault. You standing there like that was my fault. That's how bad I
Yeah,
am with that.
yeah. There was like I feel like when I was younger, I was quick to like point, always um like point a finger, but then I think it was more like, but I was still blaming myself as I
Mm-hmm.
was doing that, and then like that was just more of some kind of deflection and so but then as I've gotten older, I've just kind of like um dealt more with, or just I have this big thing about taking responsibility, because I feel like for a long time I didn't take responsibility, and then so once I started to like or like just for myself, so once I started to, then like I made it like one of my um, or like in my brain it's like one of my things, so I yeah, like it was in that moment, to answer your question though, like it's like I'm like backtracking, like,
Mm-hmm.
and then because your mind starts going on like the what ifs, what if this, what
Of
if this,
course, yeah.
and and then at a certain point, I just had to stop myself, like, hey man, like none of that thinking, like what good is gonna come of any of that, and
That's
that's
really
not gonna
important.
help this house get packed up, and
Yeah.
that's not gonna, like you're not gonna, so you could either crawl in a ball and go upstairs for 2 days, and then or you can just like uh, focus on the task at hand, and then get it, and then get past it, and then so that was kind of where I ended up with that. But I did think it was funny. It's one of those things, like not funny then, funny later,
Mm-hmm.
and then because later I was just like as I'm driving back to Charlotte, I'm laughing to myself like, well, that was a funny fork in the road
Yeah.
that you and I hit me, kind of thing.
I'm glad you mentioned being able to like to push it aside and be like, what good is it going to do if I do this now? Because I was in I was in a couple spots. The way I dealt with that kind of thinking was I wasn't able to control the full thing. Like I'd get angry with myself and I would throw something, kick something, punch something, whatever it be. And that was my way of dealing with like, oh, how did I get here? Or whatever the situation was. I was dealing with a lot of stuff. And a lot of the time it was like this internal, like, this is all your fault. You ruined it. You're at fault. So then I would manifest thoughts into physical things like throwing something, breaking something I liked, whatever it was. And then right as I was done doing that thing, breaking it or punching it or whatever, I'd look at it and like, oh, now that's ruined. I feel like an idiot. What good did that do? You know, I was able to see I was able to like regret it instantly, but I didn't have the control yet to be able to stop and be like, that's not going to be a good outcome. But, you know, with therapy and with just kind of like realizing just how stupid it is to sit there and look at something you cared about or look at your hand and like be like, oh, you just broke your finger by punching the wall. And why? Like, what good did that do? And thankfully, I'm so thankful that I've been able to work with my therapist and just work with myself and be able to kind of to stop and just have those moments where, like you just said, you're in the car with yourself, like, oh, you almost went there, but you didn't. So good job, you know. And it's important. And in sharing these things about myself, it's just, again, I hope to have somebody who might be in a similar situation at some point, like, understand that getting help is hard, but if you do get help, these moments that you regret will become fewer and fewer with the conversations and therapy and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, because too, even in those moments, like you were describing, like those moments like afterwards, to where like you're looking, or like it's good, like the visual that you said of like holding the thing that you broke, you know, and then being like, well, now this is broken, but then you're mad at yourself about that.
Oh yeah.
And then it just spirals it, and it's just like throwing kerosene on the whole situation, like when the house is already burning, you know,
or the comedy club
is already burning to the ground.
I was thinking about it. Yeah, I was like, dude. Yeah, it was a spiral, but I caught it. I put the brakes on.
Good job.
Yeah, that's not easy to do.
I've been having, so I'm just gonna voice one of my, because this is what we usually do, Adam, and kind of like talk about if we have like a moment like each week. Neil and I don't really speak too much during the week because we want to save it for, you know, the podcast and stuff. So my mental gymnastics this last week has been, my sister's getting married on Saturday, and this is a wedding that got pushed back a year because of the pandemic. She's supposed to get married last year. And I've been having more and more panic about how I'm going to look at my sister's wedding. Like, I've been seeing myself, and for some reason I've been panicking about the way I look to other people. And I never thought I had these kind of like issues until I started trying on clothes, and then like seeing pictures of my, and like we're talking about this shirt. This shirt is like a shirt from I had in high school, like in 1995 or whatever, and I can still fit in it. So I'm like, I'm either bigger or smaller than I was in high school. I'm not really sure. But anyway, so as I'm like getting closer and closer to this time where I'm gonna have to wear like nice clothes and be in pictures and stuff, I'm panicking. And in panicking, I'm like Neil and I have talked about like late night Taco Bell. Like, we've been able know, like, you know, the rewarding ourselves, like, oh, I did good mentally today, so I'm going to have some Taco Bell at 3 a.m. or whatever. Or like, I start doing this backward, like kind of like we were just saying, this backwards, like thinking of like all these points where I was like, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. And now all of those things are kind of like starting to like bug me in the back of my brain, like, oh, you know, you should have known better. So I'm just voicing this like spot where I'm at, to see if either of you have any sort of input, advice, or experience with just kind of like, yo, dude, relax, you're gonna look fine. You know what I mean? Like that's where I know where it should end, right? Like it's gonna be okay. But for somebody who I've had issues with my appearance my entire life, like this is like giving me some sort of panic. So I just wanted to put it out to both of you to see what you thought.
Well, I know you have like crazy, like I don't know if it's dysmorphia, but you know, I know that you like when your weight fluctuates, like you're like you get you get nuts, like you like the way people talk about you and treat you and stuff. Like I know that we've had conversations about that in the past. No,
What?
am I on? Am I here?
Yeah, wait. Or like you were talking to Rich, right? Or me?
Oh
Or
no, no, no. I'm so like I know that I mean I know from our conversations in the past, like
oh,
you
me.
always like you've always struggled. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you've
Oh
always
yeah,
struggled,
dude. Yeah.
you know, keeping weight off, keeping weight on. Like are you too skinny, you too fat, like and everyone being so critical, like because like you're in a public uh, spot. Like that's gotta be brutal on your brain, you know?
I've always had a real hard time with it. Like I remember, because kind of like around the time Keaton was born, like I started like putting on more weight, but then also, I mean, I was just kind of enjoying myself. I was like
Mm.
in Texas but and then like we go out to like start doing shows or like there's photos or like events, whatever. And then there's people like on the internet, like there was like uh or like, yo, is Adam fucking pregnant? And I'm like, oh my god,
Jeez.
like it's like uh and that stuff really, really was difficult for me. But it's always been difficult for me, like even since I was in like high school is when I first remember like being like having a really hard time with it. Like I was like throwing my fucking food up, for
Mm-hmm.
years there. And then like so and like I still struggle with it now, like there's like wearing, like always like wearing like a coat or something to cover up. Like that's like kind of the thing now when we play. It's like, well, I have to wear a jean jacket because otherwise someone's gonna put up a fucking picture of me on the internet and talk about how bad I got. And then I'm like, well, first off, like I'm not, 23 and I don't do drugs anymore.
Mm.
So like there's like a big thing. And so anyways, like it's just, um, but I can relate, Rich, to what you were saying just because, yeah, like I have a real hard time with that. Like there's like even to the point, well, like and just from like taking photos for so long and like doing things like that, like you kind of like figure out like the ways to stand
Mm.
or sit or like hold your body,
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
and then so that's yeah, I mean there's like we're getting back together for the first time uh, coming up here soon, and uh, that's been also weighing heavy on my mind. Like one of those things where like when you go to the bathroom, you don't look in the mirror, kind of thing. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
just get in and get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then so, and then yeah, like we don't even really have a lot of mirrors hanging around the house. So but I try to avoid that a lot of the times because it's like you got to remind yourself that like, you know what, like this is just how it is right now. And if like I really want to make like some kind of lasting change, then I know how to do that. So it's really more of a decision of am I going to do that right now? And
Yeah.
if that answer is no, then me sitting around like fucking trying to like pull my stomach off isn't gonna fucking fix anything. So it's like just more like it's another kind of accountability thing, I
Yeah.
think, with myself, but not easy, because in those moments too, you know, like you're like, I can't tell you how many times I thought, oh, you're just a fucking piece of shit. Like that's just what on loop, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I've definitely like in the worst of the times that I've been experiencing the last year or so. I've been in that spot, just like with everything. Like, you know, we all have our very lows, and we get back to our normal selves. And but it kind of it reminds me of where I was when I was at my worst point. Like just looking at every point of me mentally and physically, and being like, oh, you look like shit, you feel like shit, you are shit, you know, and it like all
Yeah.
those bad things just kind of like start boiling up again. And it's these weird like these weird catalysts of thought patterns. And I'm like, I've been way better at avoiding negativity and seeing myself in a negative light within the last 6 months or so. But it's like, it's weird how just something as like simple as a wedding, you know, something that's it's like going to be great and it's a positive thing, that like getting dressed for a wedding has started these like these negative thought patterns. And like it's up to me to just like be like, oh, it's gonna be fine, whatever. But voicing it is a lot better for me to do than to kind of like keep it inside, you know, which is why I brought it up, because I'm like, I know if somebody else has experienced it and has like some sort of experience they can share, I can be like, all right, I feel a little bit better. I'm not alone. That's been really big for me with a lot of this stuff. Is
Yeah.
like knowing that somebody else experienced it, and what did they do to you know, get through it or work with it. And you can be like, all right, well, if that person can do it, I can do it too. So
Yeah. That's actually, yeah, that's very true. Like, and very helpful to like hear that, or to just know that you're not the only one going through that. Like, I think that's what even drew me to like a lot of the music, you know, that I still listen to now, is just like finally there's like I had found something of like, oh my God, like these guys and gals are singing exactly what I'm feeling. How
right.
is this possible? I'm not like, and then like, you know, you start to feel connected in
Yeah.
that way. But like going back to, I think like it's an even more, it's an interesting just point, like I feel like in time to feel that way about yourself, you know, like about like how you're like looking or feeling, because we've all just been home essentially and like inside for
Yeah.
like the past year, and to be able to give yourself some grace, you know, is like really hard, really hard.
Yeah, I imagine. I know that it's definitely a very very hard thing for lots and lots of people being stuck home in these routines and stuff. And I definitely recognize what you're saying. I am victim to that, and I know a lot of my friends are and stuff. But you know, that was also another. It was seeing yourself kind of be like, oh wow, I've been home for a year. I haven't been to the gym, or I haven't done these things that I normally would do to keep myself in a more positive place. But it's kind of in a weird way, it was a motivation to like, I spent a whole bunch of money on weights to build a gym in the basement. You know, like I got to a point where I was like, I want to be working out. I used to work out a whole lot when a few years ago when I lived in California. I did powerlifting very seriously, and then I just didn't anymore after I moved back to the East Coast. And I was finally like looking at myself, and like I do this weird thing where I'll look at like where I watch videos of me lifting weights from back then. And I kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
you pieces, you don't do this anymore. You're a piece, you know, that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, well, you know what? Let me get back to where I was. So I spent money. I bought weights. I reconnected with my old trainer. We do Zoom workouts, all that kind of stuff. And as weird as it sounds to feel so like down on yourself, it was I was able to recognize that I could do it as long as I had that motivation. And it's weird that the motivation was just kind of like seeing how low, or how different, I don't want to say low, how different you are now as compared to when you were at like your peak, you know, like when I was lifting weights a lot and I looked different and I looked what we would consider better, you know. That's a weird way of thinking. Like better than last time is all relative to how you feel about yourself. But anyway, yeah, it was a motivating factor, and I'm finally like turning it around. But it's like I've been doing this work, I've been working out, I have all this stuff, and then like now I'm like buying dress clothes, and I'm like, I don't fit comfortably into the, and I start to question all the things that I've been trying to do for myself. Oh, did that work? Was I working out hard? So the stupid brain is doing its stupid things, but
Stupid brain.
the stupid brain.
No, I relate 100% to what you're saying.
Good.
There's like, even, see, but that's like a great example of like taking the negative and turning it into something positive, which like sometimes it sounds like a cliche thing to say, but it really is amazing. And because even just to like pull that motivation out of that feeling is sometimes couldn't feel more foreign,
Yeah, it's been tough, but just the little things, just like the little sparks that like using the low points of where I've been to motivate to just do something different has been really helpful. So just knowing that I've been able to come far from, if I feel bad about myself, I do something negative. I've changed it to like, and you kind of touch on sounding cliche, I'm not going to do something negative this time. I'm going to do something positive from the negative. And just like buying weights, working out, going for a run, walking the dog a little bit farther, just the things that I know will add up in the end to a positive result.
It's weird. Like I feel like I can't, like when I'm in the darkest of dark places, I feel like there's no hope, whatever, I'm not getting out of this thing. But when I'm not in those places, I'm like, I can't believe it got that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just so crazy that like I feel like your brain, like, I don't know, it's like protecting us from it. You know what I mean? Or like, but it's like hiding it from us. It's like by not being able to recall how dark it can get is like is it your brain being like, hey man, like don't think about that, that was bad? Or is it like your brain being like, no, it's not gonna be that bad, don't worry about it, go ahead, don't look over here.
Yeah.
And then it like pulls like
jangling keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to like know. See, it's crazy too, because I feel like even if you start, I don't know for you, but even if I start thinking about just that, it like starts to like trigger something to where it's like to where there's a part of me that's like, okay, let's just maybe move on to something else, because if you keep going down this road, kind of worried about where it's going to end up. But that's the exact thing that you're talking about.
I feel like that the what I mentioned to Neil in the past about these like save points that I call them, or like flag point, like you put a flagpole in a spot, like a moment where you realize that you've done something different on a more positive note. So next time you start thinking a certain way, you can recall how you felt at that moment, and that moment helped you get further ahead rather than step yourself back into these like whatever bad thought patterns or behaviors or whatever. And that's really helped me in that like in that like literal mental health. Like it's an exercise I do to subside any of those like moments where I've wanted to like toss my microphone across the room because I've playing a game and lost, right? Like I have a really bad temper, and it flares up sometimes in those, but it's not because I lost in the game, it's because I let my cat die. Like this is like the impetus of this whole podcast. Like I went through really bad things because I came home and found my cat dead, and like I blame myself for that for the last 2 years, and that's where all these struggles have come from. And anyway, like going through and working through all this stuff that I've done with my therapist and friends and family and all this stuff, like now I can put these like points in like, oh, this time when I felt this negative way, I was able to stop that falling backwards. And what did I do that time? Well, let me recall what I did that time, and I can move forward. So I think that's really important for my progress. And I think sharing that, maybe, I think Neil mentioned it a couple times in the past, using that little I don't want to call it an exercise because that sounds kind of corny, but that's what I do. That's helpful, and it lets your brain see that there's progress being made, and that little bit of like positive reinforcement you give yourself, like, oh, you didn't punch the wall this time, good job, you, and like, and then remember that, and then move forward instead of backwards. So that's hopefully what I can keep doing, and I have been doing. I haven't had any bad moments in quite a while, which is really, I'm really proud to say that out loud, where I haven't, I've been way better than I was in the last 6 months. I haven't had any of these. I haven't even, Neil, I mentioned how many times I'd sit there and like start crying because of the things that have happened. I haven't even had those recently, because of a lot of the positive things that have been going on for me have taken me away from that, like, that sorrow.
Yeah, well, you just, you the way it piles on the negatively, it piles on positively.
Yeah.
Like the new band, going to record, going on vacation, stuff opening up, like not being scared of COVID because you're vaccinated, like all these things, like they all pile up positively the same way. Like, oh, I spilled the spaghetti and now I gotta wash the rug and now I gotta make new dinner, and Kathleen's gonna be mad at me, and like the way that stacks, same thing. So.
Yeah, it's weird too. The people, like the way we think, Neil and I know we think similar. I know Adam sounds kind of like you might have the same kind of thought patterns, but it's like you never think that, like what Neil just said, positive things can pile up. It's only the negative stuff. It's like the only things that we're gonna think about are like, oh, well, if this bad thing happened, then this bad thing, nothing, and then you're just kind of like, like treading water in this like negativity. But then like right now, I'm just thinking like, oh, that's right. Yeah, band went to record, and my business is doing well. My sister's getting married. It's like, oh shit, there's good things that are happening too.
It's sneakier because the negative you're doing, like the stacking of negative you're doing. You're going, this happened, so this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, and then this is gonna happen, and then that's gonna happen because this happened, and that's my fault. And that's like, so it's easy for us to just be like, yeah, that's the bad shit. You know what I mean? When the good shit happens, you're not doing it.
No, it's just the one. It's just one thing happens.
You.
Yeah.
And you don't, like what we were saying earlier, like we don't know that we're worthy of it. We want to, we're looking for the other shoe to drop.
Yep.
We don't want to, how did this, I don't deserve, you know what I mean? Like, so you're not taking, like, you're not taking a ledger of the good.
That's right.
And, but the ledger makes itself. So at some point you look back and you're like, oh, I haven't tried to kill myself in like 3 weeks. Like something good's happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I wish I had been keeping track so I could follow it back and always feel
and just keep going. Follow that ledger. Yeah. No, that's such a good point, Neil. That's really, it's a really interesting visual to put in perspective. Like, we bookmark every single negative thing, and then you and I make up all of those things. We've talked about this a lot. We're like, okay, this thing, and then that's gonna. But the positive stuff, we never go like, oh, band recorded, that means we're probably going to break. Yeah, well, I mean, this is like my negativity. Well, we're probably going to break up because it was a good recording. Like,
you remember the date. You remember the date your dad died. You remember the date so and so left you. You remember the whatever. You forget your anniversary.
Right.
You forget. I don't know someone's birthday. I don't know the day that I don't remember the day Adam asked me to open Starland. I don't remember the day of Starland. I don't remember the good stuff, but I remember my mom's death. I remember my dad's death. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
remember all the
Yeah.
fucking negative. You remember all that shit. Maybe it is. You know, I saw kids now. They keep like a list of the concerts they've been to. I guess it's easier because there's apps and stuff now. We
Yeah.
never did that
Yeah.
growing up. I never made a list
No.
of the. I mean, like that. That might be such a good thing. You know what I mean? To like make a list. Like, can you like, hey, Adam? Can you do you have a list of all the shows you've played? Like a
No.
running
No.
list?
Jillian does, but not.
Jillian does.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just because she keeps great files. But there, no,
Oh,
like there's even times,
right.
there's time, or like I said, we were moving, so I'm coming across like these old, um, just going through like old boxes, and I find like little mementos, and because I get real sentimental. And then yeah, but there was stuff in there that I completely like there's even certain things to where I'm like, who's this guy?
Mm.
And then but it's like, oh, that was me, and we were in, I mean, like England playing this crazy place, and what the fuck? It's crazy. So but no, like I think you're right. And then like I wonder if we aren't just kind of like trained that way to, because like like my son Keaton, he's 12, and he has a tendency, he'll go right to the negative. And then I just wonder if that isn't something that, whether it be like through like what we're watching or what we're consuming, or just
Yeah.
or what, like I wonder why that is.
That's true.
Because
It's I made a quick errand before the podcast today, and I was talking to the guys about my small business that I started just in the last few months, and we were just it was over at an independent record shop, so he's familiar with like running a small business. So I was saying something, and I was like, yeah, I got this and this done, but I just can't wait till the health inspector comes. And I like did this like the knock on wood thing, and I like knocked on one of the record shelves, and it's like we were in the middle of a conversation about how good things were going, but I instinctually and almost like always do it is like have to, even sarcastically joking, but like always refer back to like what negative thing is going to happen out of this
yeah,
positive thing to make us work harder or ruin what we've built up. It's such a weird way. I know I do like kind of exactly the same thing. I go right to the negative, even if it's just to be funny about it or make an anecdote. It's like kind of, I guess, how I've grown up to be, which is not the healthiest, but it's kind of like what you're saying. It's almost common for a lot of people to just go right to the negative when you're talking about or looking at something positive.
there I've like noticed that my dad does it, and then my mom does it too, or like all, yeah, so it's like this general like it's not just, or like I don't think it's just something that's like broken and people like
Yeah.
ours' brain specifically.
Yeah, I know. Good point. My mom does that. My mom is always like instantaneously will be like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? No matter what it is, if
Yeah,
there's well, what about
yeah,
this and what about that? That is her looking out for me or whomever she's talking to. Because she's older, she has experience, she's your parent, she loves you, she cares about the good in what you're trying to talk about. I think it comes across sometimes from parents, or I know it comes across that way, like as a negative connotation. But I think in the end, it's they just want what's best, and they want you to be prepared, right? Like they want you to be like,
yeah,
don't count your chickens before that, because my small business is I do a food thing, and there's a lot of like health department stuff, insurance, this, that, and the other things. So there's a lot of steps that I have to go through, and it's like I'll bring something up to my mom, like, oh, I got this kitchen space. She's like, well, what about this, that, and the other thing? And I want the instantaneous, like, oh, that's great, I'm happy for you. But it's not, it's great, I'm happy for you will come at the end. But immediately it's like they want me to make sure that in order to get that, hey, that's great, everything is wonderful, make sure you don't disappoint yourself by not looking at these things that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
it's,
Well, but I think though too that like I like think that there's to or like sorry, I interrupted. I'll let you finish.
No, it's okay. It's mainly just like you're saying. It's like this inherent like need to protect those you care about by making sure that they're not blinded by the positive, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
I don't like feeling that way. So whenever somebody brings something, I'm the opposite. I'm like, yeah, everything's awesome. That's great. Keep going. You know what I mean? Like, if I have anything
Yeah.
to add, I'll add it. But because it's such like I'm so sensitive to like negativity, you know, like I hesitate sometimes to bring things up to my mom or somebody I know who will instantaneously react in such a way that'll be like, oh well, what about this? Oh, what about that? Oh, you didn't think about this, did you? Because I just want to. I want to live in the moment for a second. You know what I mean? Like I want to be happy
Yeah.
now, not later. But
Well, there too, like I think that even like I don't doubt that, or like with my parents, the same thing. You know, I don't doubt that it's like I feel that it's coming from like a good
of
place, but
course,
I don't necessarily think that that makes it like like right. You know,
yeah.
like I don't. I like actually had this conversation with my wife Misha. I was telling her, I'm like, the reason I don't show like you or my dad or anybody like these like this new thing I'm working on right away is because like I feel or just like the majority of people, like I just feel like the first reaction is um, to tell me what I could change, which then translates to tell me the parts that you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
which is like this thing of like, well, look, I just put every little ounce of my being into this and I'm so proud of it. And then like your first reaction is to tell me how I could do it better. Like this is the best I could do for right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe like rather than like the knee jerk, you know, like that, like to like just let it simmer for a bit, let it ruminate, you know, like
Yeah.
and so there's so anyways, I guess I gave that example to say that like I like I can empathize with what you were just saying ab- about that. Like, yes, it's coming from a good place and like they want what's best, but that's the thing is that like because they're also in that moment going to that negative reaction,
Right.
regardless of it's coming from a real warm place in their heart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I've learned to kind of like what you were saying about kind of hiding it from people. Like I've learned to figure it out for myself fully and do it all
Yeah.
and not tell anybody else that doesn't need to be involved until it's completed, because
Yeah.
I know as me as a person, as a negative thinker and somebody who will immediately start doubting myself if I get 1 ounce of what if from a source that may not know all the details, I'll still
Yeah.
take that
Same.
what if as like gospel and be like, oh yeah, what if that one little tiny thing. So as I've gotten older, I've just learned to kind of, figure it out, do it, put a period on it and have it done, and then be like, yo, check this thing I did out. So there'll be no like I'll kind of circumvent the what ifs from the outskirts. And
Mhm.
if I did need to fix something, I'll fix it after the fact rather than let that like little thing, if I needed to fix something in the middle, and let it ruin the whole thing, I'll just fix it at the end because I know I have it done. So I've learned to kind of
Yeah.
like just figure it out and be real secret, and not, my big thing is not getting excited until it's manifested and done. Like I don't get excited at the process. I don't get excited about the idea. I get excited when it's all done, when it's there, when you can touch it, listen to it, whatever, and have it done, because I worry so much about it failing in the process of its making, which is why I don't do well with like criticisms and such. So,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to get a little bit better about that because I think it's a little unhealthy not to be excited about the things you're creating. So that's, like I recorded a demo this weekend with my band. I wasn't I wasn't excited. I was even playing my guitar tracks and I wasn't excited until everybody was just like, they sound awesome, they're done, we're listening to them. I was like, that's it. Like, that's like, I didn't need to go back and do it again. Like, I did it and it was there. And I finally was like, all right, I can be excited now. You know what I mean? The whole process is such an exciting thing for all of us, but I wasn't excited until it was done, which is a weird way of thinking. But hopefully I can
Yeah,
like work on that as I,
that sounds hard.
yeah, it's mental gymnastics because I don't want to, you don't want to mess up, you don't want to disappoint anybody, you
Yeah,
question your own ability, like am I good enough to be playing
yeah,
this music? It's all this stuff, and it's like you're here with your friends, you're here with somebody who asked you to come record there because they're your friend and they want to create with you, and it's like all of these things should be super exciting. But for me individually, it's like a really unique mind space to be in because you have this weakness to doubt and self-doubt and criticism and stuff. So luckily, as I've grown and mentally grown in the last year or so, I got through it and it wasn't like a disaster. It's not like I messed up a couple times, but it's like that. Okay, we'll just do it again. That's okay, and that's the end of it.
yeah.
I don't have to like beat myself up over it. So, I've come a long way, but I'm glad that I was able to do this thing and feel good about it. And maybe a year ago, I definitely wouldn't have been able to. I would have just given up. The first time I messed up. No, all done. So,
Yeah, that's a hard thing, especially in that, and I can just speak to that because I've experienced it also, but that feeling of like you're just like, who am I kidding? I can't do this, like that
right.
kind of thing, and just like, yeah, that's a real thing.
What is that?
But
Is
then,
that called imposter syndrome? Is that what that is? Like,
yeah,
is that what that? Okay, I hear
yeah,
that terminology, but not too familiar with it.
it's like, yeah, like you don't, well, like I think it goes hand in hand with that feeling, or like I think Neil brought it up earlier, like the thing of like, oh, like I don't deserve this,
Mm-hmm.
like that, like this isn't me. Like I think they're like all in the same category
Yeah.
because that
I
stuff
think
is so real.
the thing with imposter syndrome, I like I don't know the way I guess deal with it or justify it. Actual imposters don't feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like someone who doesn't
Kind of
belong.
like how like crazy people don't know they're crazy.
Yes, sort
Sorry,
of.
I was trying to make you laugh. Failed. Oh,
Well, no,
God, I'm
because,
gonna be kicking myself all day for that
because
one.
but I don't know because I think that's I don't think that's I think crazy people do know that they're you know what I mean? I think like I know there's something wrong with me.
Well, yeah, same
You know what
here,
I mean?
but that's how you're not. You don't. Why you don't need to
That
be
makes me not
institutionalized.
crazy.
No, it just, well, like I feel like that kind of awareness makes yeah, I don't know the right word, functional.
Oh
They're
yeah,
they're
we pass. We're
yeah,
passing.
yeah, like I mean yeah, because I could say the same thing about myself that you were just saying about
Yeah,
yourself, like I feel that same way.
yeah, I pass. But the thing with imposter syndrome, I think like the people who really don't deserve the things that they're getting, they don't question it. They're just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just the greatest at what I do. And you're like,
What?
definitely not. And
Yeah,
I think,
yeah, that must be nice.
yeah, I think like to deal with the imposter syndrome, it's just like, no, no, no. I worked really hard to get like I paid dues for 25 years.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's okay to it's okay to have someone be like, hey, you're great, and be like, oh, thank you.
Ugh, really?
Yeah,
You can do that?
Well,
it's
no.
hard. I I,
It's really hard.
I
It's
had
really hard.
that's why Adam's on today is because I texted him the other day because I was like, yo, how do you deal with that? Like, because it's starting to happen now where people are starting to like recognize me from different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so someone come up to me after a show. It's been like one or two every day or two. Someone will come up to me like, oh, I'm here because I saw your stuff online. and I just have to be like, yes, thank you.
Yeah. Are you fucking with me? Who put you up here?
Yeah, it's so hard to just be like, yes,
Mm.
thank you. I appreciate it. You know?
Yeah.
Or like someone who's like you're selling t-shirts after the show, and then someone comes over and is like, oh, how much for your t-shirt? And you're like, you actually want
You want that?
you want my
You want to give me money for this?
here, have the shirt. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing, dude?
Dude, that's
Yeah.
that's so fun. That's how I've been with the seitan and bread. Like if one person is like, "Oh, it was really good," I'll like bring them $50 worth of stuff the next time. Like, just take it and tell somebody. I guess that's cool if you want it. Like, yeah, it's such a rough. It's a weird place to be mentally, to just to not believe that you're good enough for a thank you or like a good job, you know, or if you get one. For me, it's like what I'm just saying. I'm like, you thought that was good? Oh my God, here's all this. I'm rewarding you for rewarding me. You know what I mean? Like, here's a bunch of free stuff. Please keep saying it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Tell me again, please.
Yeah. Dude, it's yeah, I mean that stuff is, or like, and it's like such a crazy thing, because I'll even see like there's I've been staying off of social media lately, and just because I think it's better. I think the
Yeah.
world is better.
Yeah.
But
You don't need, you don't need to justify that.
Absolutely.
okay,
Yeah, you're
cool.
right.
So,
yeah.
but I like have some friends, like there's like a tattoo buddy of mine, and then like lately he's like kind of like really like changed the way that he talks about what he does, you know. And it's and there's this part of me that like really like I admire it, you know, because he's owning that he's really good, and like he's owning that like he's
Mhm.
good at this specific thing, or like this specific style, and like he started to speak very honestly about it. But then there's still this part of me when I'm reading it, even though I admire it, I start to feel a little uncomfortable, because it's almost impossible, I think, for my brain to understand the difference between boasting and being boastful and just being honest and sincere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when it's coming from, you know, when it's coming from like the person that's making the thing that they're talking about.
Right, that
Does
line
make
of like
sense?
confidence versus cockiness, right? Like it's this
Yeah.
weird fine line, and like if you know the person, then you have an advantage. Like, oh, they're just confident, and that's fine. Like it's weird to me. It's a good reference you just made. It's like for me, I can't be confident. I will never be like, yo, I did this thing. Check it out. It's awesome. Never. That's just not how I am. And I know people who are like that, and then I also know people who are like cocky about it, and it's a weird balancing act, especially like you're saying, like on social media, like you have one shot there. Like if you put something in the way you say it, you'll be picked apart, or your people who know it will take it one way. So I don't know what it's like to be confident. That's basically what I'm saying. I could never. Confidence is one of my weaknesses, and it's always going to be a tricky subject, and it's just weird.
You weren't even confident saying that.
Exactly. I was like,
You weren't confident about your
lack of confidence.
talking about how you're not confident. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like I know I do things, and I've produced things in my life that I could be confident about. It's just never a skill that is confidence a skill? Is that correct in saying confidence is a skill, or just like a mindset? I'm not really sure, but I'm not confident about it. Yeah, but then I know people who are, and I'm like, you look at people that are like your friend. You're saying your tattoo friend who's like confident about what they're doing and proud. There's also being proud about something. I'm proud about a lot of stuff, and I'm confident about the fact that I can do it. But then like when it comes to others' judgment or impression of that thing, then that's where it becomes weird for me. Like even putting some of the music up that that we've made the last weekend, like I'm like worried about what a couple of my friends will say about it that I know who like to give me a hard time about the kind of music I play, you know, even though I know they'll be, you know, we all rib each other, you know, we all kind of like, you know, like give each other that sarcastic, like criticism here and there. And I know a couple of my friends who will do that, and I don't know if I'm ready for it, but you know, it's an exercise. And by putting myself out there, it's actually a little bit of exercise in my confidence building to put it out there and be like, hey, I like this thing. This is the music I play. Enjoy it. And if you don't, that's cool. Like, it doesn't have to be like a fight. You know what I mean? You know, it's just like at this point, I've come this far. I'm as old as I am now. Like, I'm doing something I enjoy and I like it. So here. And if you don't, then that's fine. But the first person who says they don't like it, I'll probably trash the files, and that'll be that. So
You'll burn down the comedy club.
I will burn down the comedy
Burn
club.
down that comedy club. Roots the goots.
Yeah. Well, we've coming up in an hour and 15, so this is a little bit a little extra time today. So I guess maybe we should wrap it for this episode number 24, lucky number 24.
Little dismount.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for taking the time.
Man.
Yeah, this is
Thanks for being
awesome.
here.
I hope I did good.
Yay, you good.
Yeah. Did I do good? That makes me think of that David Sedaris, that One Day Me Talk Pretty. It's just a great title for a book. Anyways, cool.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. I appreciate the time and the input. It's always helpful, like we were saying earlier, that people with experience with the things that we talk about also have experience in it, and hopefully in turn it helps somebody who listens or watches, and they can move forward in a positive way. Any final parting words for this episode? Okay, and then we'll take you next time. All right.